Chad Bryant Racing and driver Treyten Lapcevich have won their appeal, at least in part, after they were disqualified from their win at North Wilkesboro due to having a 9-inch Ford rear end, which Cars Tour officials deemed was illegal based on their rulebook. Before we get to this, I'd like to ask you, please hit that subscribe button, hit that bell for notifications so you don't miss any of our future videos here at John Trent Racing. This is over at the Cars Tour official website. They posted this yesterday, and it reads this. On Tuesday afternoon, the Cars Tour appeals panel voted to amend the penalty levied against Chad Bryant Racing for an unapproved part on Treyten Lapcevich's number 77 late model stock car following the event at North Wilkesboro Speedway earlier this month. As a result, Lapcevich has been reinstated as the winner of the August 3rd ZMAX Cars Tour presented by Sound Gear late model stock car event in North Wilkesboro, but will not receive the points or prize money for the win. So he's the winner, but he doesn't actually receive the benefits of being the winner. I don't think this ruling makes a lot of sense whatsoever. If you are going to say that someone has won the race, they deserve to get the points and they deserve to get the prize money. I think this is a mistake that NASCAR made when they penalized Austin Dillon, where they awarded him the win, but removed the points that he received from it, as well as being automatically qualified into the playoff hunt. I thought that was a mistake. It doesn't make any sense. If you're going to remove him, basically take the benefits of the win away, you should take the win away as well. This one, if you're actually going to give him the win, he should be getting the prize money and the points as well. It doesn't really make any sense to kind of say, like, you won, but you don't actually get the benefits of winning. It just doesn't make any sense to me, does not compute. I think these half and half rulings are just stupid. There's no other word really to describe them. They're basically trying to appease both sides, and I just don't like this compromise. You either won the race and you get everything that comes with winning the race, or you didn't win the race and you don't get any of those benefits from winning the race. That's how it should be, in my opinion. We did get a comment here from Kip Childress. We understand and accept the decision made this afternoon by the appeals board. We appreciate the time and effort given by the board to hear this appeal, and we understand that there is a need on our part to continue to work on our processes and procedures as we grow as a sanctioning body. And then it tells you that the panel consisted of David Hoots, Brandon Brown, and Kevin Powell from team owner Chad Bryant. Heard the appeal from team owner Chad Bryant. We do have some more information. I do want to point out here that I do think that the rule book is a little unclear. I know people are pointing out that, saying that they think that this is pretty clear, specifically Matt Weaver, which we'll get to over at Short Track Scene. But if you look at this ruling right here, this is the Cars Tour rule book I'm looking at. It does say only quick change, rear end, center sections with a minimum cross-section height of 12 inches at the center of the rear axle with a side bell. Minimum diameter of 12 inches and magnetic steel spur gears on the backside will be permitted. And that is in this section here, labeled flywheel, flex plate, clutch, transmission, drive shaft, rear axle. So I think that ruling is extremely clear. However, if we jump down further down in the rule book, and this is the part that says transmission, drive shaft, rear end, it says standard winners or equal type brand of quick change rear end with the rear end with spur gears out the back cover only. So I think there's actually some interpretation that can be made here if you're just looking at this section. Obviously, if you take it all in context, that other section is very clear. It says only quick change rear end. But I think here where you're saying look at equal type / brand, you could maybe argue that the 9-inch Ford rear end is potentially equal type or brand. I think there's an argument that could have been made there. I don't know if that's how Chad Bryant made that argument, but I do think that this needs to be clarified here in the rule book. I think they should have this section here saying that standard winners are equal type brand of quick change only rear ends or something like that. Only quick change. I don't know. I think they need to just reiterate it again, because I do think that if you're just looking at this section here, it could be misinterpreted if you're not taking it within the entire context of that previous section. We do have some information here. As I said, Matt Weaver did a really good job here over at Short Track Scene. I love his reporting, whether it is NASCAR or Cars Tour. He does a really good job here. And he did an interview with Kip Childress discussing how everything kind of broke down in their officiating and their inspection process at North Wilkesboro. And this is what Kip told Matt. He says, he looked at it, referring to one of the officials, visually saw the rear end and didn't register that it was wrong. When I was questioned on Monday and made the call to our staff, they confirmed it was the 9-inch, and we realized we needed to make a decision. When I brought it to our attention of our officials, he said, oh crap, because this was a part that we tidied up in the rule book from the start of the year. Weaver explains the rule was written in the offseason and even further clarified in March after Childress consulted all the teams and determined that most were running the quick change and didn't object to any other rear end being made illegal anyway. So obviously that is communication that was done outside of the rule book. Cars Tour results are not made official until Monday each week, and the public knows when the results are confirmed because the series sends out the notification over social media that day after every race as well. Thus, the results were not yet official, gave Childress the room to issue the disqualification. It was a chance to right a wrong and correct an oversight. He said there are so many times in racing at all levels, officials make mistakes and errors are made. And more often than not, because how quick things happen, we can't always right a wrong. That we weren't official with our results yet gave us this option. And then obviously Weaver cites that rule that we just talked about. And he says that it doesn't say that a forward 9-inch is not allowed. I think it's very clear that it does say only quick change, which would indicate that you wouldn't be allowed to use a forward 9-inch. But again, I think that other section doesn't provide the clarity that this section does. And those sections, I think, could be interpreted as contradicting each other, and I think leaves it ambiguous. But Childress says this: it doesn't say that a school bus rear end isn't allowed. If we do it that way, it will be a never-ending set of rules. And I agree with him if you're just looking at this section. But if you look at that other section, I think it is much more ambiguous, and I think they should make that section more clear or clear. He points to the word only as carrying the definition of the rule. Childress says a lot of teams have praised that the Cars Tour rule book over the years for not being lengthy and wordy. He says he is open to further clarifying certain rules, but isn't keen to go that direction because it will lead to a never-ending series of addressing semantics with every section. I agree. Again, I just think that if you have these two rules, that one I think is ambiguous and the other is very clear, I think you just need to clarify that other section there. So, but I agree with him. You don't want to be arguing over semantics all the time. And at the end of the day, Kip Childress and his officials should be able to institute that and make it clear that this is the rule, and the drivers and the teams understand that. What was the biggest lesson Childress learned in this process? He says the biggest thing, and we started this process after Wilkesboro, is to over-communicate more. We have a small team, but we are mighty. Take Friday at Ace, for example. When we moved everything up an hour, that was a tall task on our team to have cars ready to go, and they answered the call. They are some of the hardest working guys I've ever known. So what I've encouraged our folks to do is include me on their findings. That isn't a knock on our inspectors, but telling me what they might have found will allow me time to look into the rules to find out what is and isn't allowed. That will allow me to circle back quicker and make sure we are acting appropriately. Adding that layer of communication will only strengthen our process. And so I think that is something that is really interesting. I know I've talked about this a little bit before. I was a soccer referee, and they have laws, right? And it's a very short book. It's very easy to understand. Whereas you're looking at these rule books. These rule books we're looking at 40 pages, I think. Over 40 pages if we go back here. We're looking at almost 50 pages of rules here, and clearly it's going to be very difficult to memorize that. So you have to have really good officials who know what they're looking for. And then obviously your main official, Kip Childress, he needs to have time to have that communicated with so he can actually look into whether or not that technical inspection was done properly and whether or not the officials might have found something and make that ruling. So I get that because these rule books are that's a 50-page rule book. You're not memorizing all of those rules. And if you are, kudos to you, but that's a lot of information to memorize. So let's continue here, though. We also got comments here from Dale Earnhardt Jr., one of the owners for the Cars Tour. And he says, we want to be better and we want to improve. We're just now going through the notes and recommendations from the appeals committee for how we can improve. There will be a lot of reflection throughout our group and in the office for how to come away from this to be better. He says, I feel like we are in a really good place with Kip at the helm. With all the things Jeff, Kevin, and Justin have going on, we were very fortunate to have been able to hire Kip when he became available. We've put a lot on his plate. So I'm going to let Kip figure out what all needs to happen next with our process in working through the notes the appeals committee gave us with his experience. This is right up Kip's wheelhouse with his experience over the years. If we need to make changes to get better, we will, and that's very important to us. We don't want to be in this position often. I kind of view it as something we had to go through for our own growth, and we are going to get better because of it. And Matt says that Chad Bryant did not immediately respond and ask for comment, but will be included in future updates. I assume that when they race at Wake County, if Matt's there, he will probably talk to Chad Bryant and Treyten Lapcevich and get their comments on this ruling. But I just want to reiterate, I think this idea that you can kind of try and appease both sides, come to this compromise, oh, we're going to give you the win, but not actually give you the points or the prize money, I think that's utterly ridiculous. I don't like that at all. I think if you win a race, you won the race, you get the prize money, you get the points, and that's how it should be. Or you didn't win the race, you don't get the prize money, you don't get the points. Let's be clear on that. Or you can put them like they did with Ryan Millington when he spun out Connor Hall at, I think it was Hickory, put him to the rear as they did during the race, rear of the lead lap cars. Issue some kind of penalty like that, whereas like maybe you're taking the win away, obviously is a bad part or something like that, but he's not completely like losing everything, losing the prize money or the points. He's just being penalized to the rear of the lead lap or something like that. Maybe do a 2-lap penalty. I know that they have that rule when people kind of just stop in the corners now. When the caution comes out, they penalize them for 2 or 3 laps. I think that the rule is. So maybe that's something that they can look at doing forward. I think that would maybe be a little bit more just rather than this kind of half compromise thing where it's like, oh, we're going to give you the win, but you didn't actually get anything from the win, or you don't get the win, and but you get all the things from the win. Just just pick one or the other. Those are just my thoughts on this, but let me know what you guys make of this. What do you make of Cars Tour's ruling here? What do you make of the explanations from Kip Childress and Dale Earnhardt Jr.? Let me know in the comments below.